everybody, this is Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake. Welcome back to the latest installment of the School of Rock. I was doing some transcribing recently and fell across a run that kind of went up the G major scale just by, instead of skipping strings immediately, by going and then moving on to the next strings to the next kind of natural step in terms of the flow of the scale. And that got me thinking, that went all the way up. It was what I had figured out was see if any of you out there can figure out what that run is and put it in the comments below. It's actually a famous run from a band you may have heard of. Anyway, that got me to thinking is, why don't I try and apply that to some things that I would do with my runs? So I wanted to start out just by walking through the G major scale with that. We're going to go on the low E, 3, 5, 7, and then move up to 5, 7, 8. So we have, now I want to just, instead of trying to continue with that sequence, move on to the next string. So we have, okay, hopefully you guys are following me here on the tab. And then 7, 9, 10 on the D, and 9, 10, 12 right after that. So we have, you seeing what I'm doing? So it's like I'm playing two groups of three, and then moving on to what would be the natural next progression in the scale. Okay, so continuing on here, we have, I think we left off on 9, 10, 12 on the D. We have 9, 11, 12 on the G, then 11, 12, 14. Okay, now on the B, 12, 13, 15, 13, 15, 17, 14, 15, 17, 15, 17, 19. I want to end it with a half step bend on the B, okay? So here's what we have for that. Okay, one more time for you guys. Okay, now that would be more of just a traditional look at what we're doing with G major and the modes for those that are familiar with it, okay? Now I want to show you guys some of the legato sequences that I would use and how we could, get it a little more in terms of, I guess, what I would do with it. And maybe you guys will dig some of that, and maybe you won't. But here we go anyway. The next exercise, I'm going to start out on the A string, on the 5th fret going. So I'm going, for those that know their modes, 3 notes a string. That's all one pick. I'm going to get 7 on the B, on the E string rather. Okay, that is a legato run that I use quite often. So now I want to apply it to what we were doing. So it's like, think about playing that there and moving it up one. So we have, okay, now what would be the natural next scale steps? Just go into the next strings, right? So we have, okay, so I'm going 7, 9, 5, 9, 5, 9, 10, 9, 7, 10, 7. Okay, so far, continuing on to the G and the D, we have 9, 11, 9, 7, then 10 on the D, right? Okay, moving up to the B, we're going to go 12, 13, 12, 10, 12 on the G, 13, 15, 13, 12, 14, 12. So those two. And then up here on the high E, 14, 15, 14, 12. Back to 15, back to 12. Okay, 15, 17, 15, 14, 17, 14, and then I just want I want to end on the G note there, okay? So slowly. Okay, which for me, lends itself to being able to really run quickly up. I'm a little more fluent with my left hand than my right, so there's a nice, cool ascending G major run for you. Let's take a look at applying that to, I don't know how many of you out there watch my Monster Pentatonics lesson, which is the first lesson I did for Guitar World on the School of Rock. But I wanted to apply a legato sequence to that, and the same thing by just thinking, all right, what's the next step up, and then go to the next string. So we're going to start out with this stretch here on the A of going 8, 5, doing a pull-off, 5, 3, getting 6 on the low E, and back to the 3 there. So we have... I'm going to be working with the G minor pentatonic rather than the G major at this point, okay? You might hear the difference, but we have... Then the next step up in terms of pentatonic notes would look like this. 10, 8, 5, down to 8, pulling off 8 to 5. Okay, moving on to the next strings, 10, 8, 5. Okay, you seeing that? 10, 8, 5, down to the 8, and then now we have 12, 10, 8. Now on the next strings, 12, 10, 7, and 10. 15, 12, 10, and 12. So we have... so far, okay? Heading up onto the B, we have 15, 13, 11, 12. And then moving up 18, 15, 13. Okay, so 15, 13, 11, and 12. And 18, 15, 13, and 15. Okay, heading on to the last two strings, we have 18, 15, 13, and 15. And then 20, 18, 15, and 18. And let's end with a bend to G, okay? So here's that whole thing heading up. And then the last exercise, I want to just throw a little multi-finger tapping at you guys, see what you got, okay? I don't know how many of you watched my, I think what Guitar World called the best tapping lesson in the world, or ultimate tapping lesson or something. I don't know. It was just some tapping ideas that I use. I'd like to be a little more humble about that. But this is just going to work a 6-note sequence heading back to the G major scale, okay? So your left hand is going to be on 3, 5, 7, and the right hand is going to be on 8 and 10, okay? I'm going to use my index finger and my third. Now, typically, I tend to lead with my first finger when I tap. So when runs start, I tend to think of that as the downbeat. So I'm just going to go for the 6-note sequence. You see what I'm doing there? I'm getting 8, and I'm getting 10, just setting down. Now, very important with the right hand, when you pull off 10 to 8, you pull up across the string, okay? So we have the 6-note sequence. Okay, now what I want to do is climb that to the next step, okay? We're going to follow that original idea that we took, right? We're moving the first 2 steps of the G major scale right there. Now it's time to move on to the next strings, okay? I should point out the frets to you guys here. 10, 12, and then 8, 7, 5. You're coming back to 10 though. Okay, we have right on this string. So in terms of where you're putting your fingers, I'm just going to tell you now, I think you know the pattern. 5, 7, 9, 10, and 12. Okay, so, and then we're going to 12, 7, 9, 10, 12, and 14. You can hear the 6-note sequence, right? And we have, okay, on the D, which 7, 9, 10, 12, and 14. That is 14, well, 9, 10, 12, 14, and 16. So what we have so far, okay, now let's continue on to the D string, or G string rather. 9, 11, 12, 14, and 16. And then we have 16. That is 11, 12, 14, 16, and 17. Now, if it's a 1-fret stretch like that, I'm not using my first and third anymore. I think you guys probably see that. I'm using my first and my middle, okay? So far we've got this. Up onto the B now, we have, so we're going 17. That's 12, 13, 15, 17, and 19. Moving up to 13, 15, 17, 19, and 20. Once again. Now on the high E, we're going to go 19, 20, 17, 15, 14, right? And then the 15, 17, 19, 20, and 22 are the frets. I'm going to end it with that half-step bend. Slowly going up, we have. And here it is, just ripping it up for you guys. Okay guys, so I hope you have fun with those ascending runs. You can see how sometimes one simple idea you learn from transcribing something can open a can of worms and all of a sudden you get all these other ideas. That's just the way it works with me. I hope you guys get something from it. Rock on, and thanks for the support. I'll catch you guys next time.